Hi, folks. This is Mountain Man coming to you from parts unknown. Haha. How's everybody tonight? Thank you for tuning in, everybody that's coming to my live stream and joining the chats, and everybody who watches after the live stream. If you want to know when I go live, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you'll know and you can be part of the chats. And we're just trying to figure out every night what the heck's going on in this big old world. And I like to say hi to people that come in. And Mike's in. How you doing, Mike? Diane, Finding Dory. What a nice picture you have, Dory. I sent you a message about that. I don't know if you got it. Hi, Nikki. Hi, Donna. How's everybody doing? No bumble jump tonight. No bumble jump. Boy, that takes a mess. Better part of the day working on that stuff. And got to pick a good day for that, when there's not a lot of heavy hitters streaming that night. So we'll see in the future because I got some stuff I want to go over that a little too sensitive for here. But I will go over some sensitive stuff anyway. I'm past my 30-second mark where the sniffers are really active. But I got on my thumbnail, what would happen if? If what? Well, I'll tell you here in a little bit. And we have it all. And I was going to put AS after that. Adam Schiff. Because as most of the people know in the chats, but in case there's people tuning in saying, what's this kooky character coming up every night talking about? In case you didn't know, every phone, every smartphone, Android phone, they can access and cut your mic on, and you don't even see the phone light up. They can hear, they can eavesdrop with them. They can even turn the camera on the phone, the front camera, the back camera. They can hear and see what's going on. Supposedly, if they have a FISA warrant, but I'm not going to accuse them of doing things without warrants, but FISA works both ways. And I think AS is going to find that out in the future. So anyway, a lot of stuff. I was brushing up, going through different posts, and man, things get clearer and clearer the more I read with a clear mind, without a mind to do anything but understand what's being said to me in those posts, and that's all. Boy, do you your eyes stretch open. Hi, Vicky. Hi, Doc. How you doing? Jamie, B-Dog, Bo Rinkin Project. Good evening. Oh, I appreciate you too, Dory. So we got everybody rolling in. Gloria. If I miss anybody, please forgive me. I always say that. Hi, Gary. How you doing? Love to garden. How are you? And Gloria, we got two Glorias. And we get a lot of dual names. That's good. I'll say that way it's a less chance if I miss somebody. Hi, Mary. How you doing? So anyway, I put up what's AS? I just said, Donna. Adam Schiff. I told people a long time ago, if they go on the boards, just put an AS and hit it. And you'll see some posts about him. Not all of them, but it's just a quick way to do a quick reference. Because that's what they, you blocked your cam, says Love to Garden. I don't know if that works or not. They're crafty. We got some high-tech stuff in here. And remember General Petraeus, they used to call him Buttraeus, but he said, well, we'll be spying on people from through their dishwashers. Uh, Mike's got two S's on the end of that. I see. That's interesting. But it's just one S. And you can see some things about him, and if you try, you won't be able to understand all the posts you read, but there are a few keywords that you put in there. And the reason I said what would happen if is I tried to put a post on last week. I mentioned it in the chats that I tried to put a particular post up on Twitter, my Twitter account, which I ghost around. I don't post much because I've always known that was a dangerous place to be. Hi, Roberto. And you know what? It wouldn't even post. I could have posted those pictures that Marjorie Taylor Greene had up on the House floor, and they'd have gone through. But this post, it wouldn't go up, and so I didn't even try anymore. I said, well, that's given me a little hint right there that I shouldn't push it. But I'll go over that post with you all here in a little bit. So now I've got a question for everybody, since we got a pretty good crowd in. Mr. T put out that he got a letter Sunday night, and he said he had 4 days to appear before a grand jury. Well, today's 4 days, and it's been about an hour, I guess, since I've checked Truth Social and other places, but I hadn't heard anything was going on with that. And I don't like it when things get quiet. But in a way I do, because when Mr. T goes quiet, something's serious, something's going on. And I really feel that he's in control. And I think the baddies get more concerned when he goes quiet than we do. But has anybody heard anything on that? Because where he's going is into the Magic Kingdom. And for those who are not in the know, Magic Kingdom is DC. All smoke and mirrors, Nikki says. Well, it's called transparency. What's going on with the baddies is smoke and mirrors. What we're shooting for is transparency. I'm going to get a clip where Mr. T said, was talking to Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, and they were arguing about a government shutdown, and Nancy was sitting on one side and Chuck Schumer was sitting on the other side in the Oval Office, and Trump said it's all about transparency, and Nancy Pelosi gave this disgusted, when he said that. So, yeah, we're going to go over that. But the Magic Kingdom's DC, and we know that is rigged. And I saw something interesting when I took time to actually read President Trump's statement that he put on Truth Social. Because, sometimes your eyes glass over, you don't read things. And I said to myself, I got to practice what I preach and read this and try to digest every word. A lot of it is repetitive. But I found something interesting at the very end of what he had put up, and I'm just checking the chats to see if anybody heard anything about going before the grand jury. I guess it's tomorrow, but I'm pretty sure he said 4 days. And the last time I checked, he only put up 2 posts today around 3:00, Washington, D.C. time. That's Eastern Standard Time. That's the times I always use in case anybody's wondering. So it was quiet all day, except for a couple of posts. And I think we're a long way, B-Dog, from pull the curtain. Ha ha, we'll see, though. I could be wrong. RFK Jr. in front of Congress today, wasn't that awful the way they treated him? And I'm glad he kicked back. And they wanted to put that thing in some kind of private hearing because they accused RFK. Let me tell you their game real quick. I'm going to get off topic real quick, tell you their game. RFK was talking about what they were constructing as far as biological stuff, okay? And he was saying they were using the human genome to target certain people, and he was referring to the Russian population, I guess, in the Caucasus or out in that area. And he mentioned a Jewish sect of people who their genome is different. And he was saying, and he mentioned other genome anomalies that would not have been affected by their, quote, research. Well, what they tried to say today was he was making anti-Semitic and anti-Asian remarks when he was pointing out people were working on targeted, let's call it, illnesses for a certain group of people with a certain DNA construct. He was not saying anything derogatory. And he pointed it out. He blew him out of the water about it. But, you know, in hindsight, if he'd said, well, the genome's not the same as Irish people or Celtic people up in Ireland and other individuals who are not similar to the people in Russia, that would have been much harder for them. But even the way he put the thing and the way they twisted it, it shows you they fall back on race and they defame, which is a term RFK used. I'm being defamed. And so the more people get to see that. And somebody posted, if you'd have told me, he said, 10 years ago that we would witness the entire Democratic Party attacking a Kennedy, I'd have told you were crazy. But you know stuff's crazy now because they are really getting desperate and losing their grip. Tennessee, how you doing? Hi, Chris. Chris said, I believe nothing happens too. And let's see. Hi, David. How are you doing? Gary said, I say he doesn't show. So, well, you know, that's the thing. Let me see what you all think of this. You know, we've got this situation in D.C. with all the J6 people in jail, been in jail for I don't even know how long, you know, a year and a half, 2 years. And they hang their hats on the peg that it is the District of Columbia. It's kind of like a city state. And we know that the nickname is Magic Kingdom. And we know John Durham suffered his first loss in 30 years ever as a prosecutor against Sussman in D.C. So they claim they can march to their own drummer, and there's certain parts of the Constitution I guess they consider to be suspended in the, let's call it, territory of the District of Columbia. I say give it back to Maryland. That's where they took it from anyway. Anyway, so let me toss this at you. Hi, Outlandish. Oh, good. I'm glad he's getting stronger. I hope I didn't miss anybody. David says, time for the military to step in. MS Motorsports, how you doing? Well, we're in fifth generation warfare, and I believe they've already stepped in. We just aren't doing it with tanks, guns, missiles, bombs, marching soldiers. Over 900 days, Mike says. Well, let me pull this letter from Trump up, where I got to find it. Okay. I think, he doesn't put on his letterhead, he doesn't put words there for nothing, right? It's like I was talking about the 17th letter posting, almost 5,000 posts. They don't just put up stuff for nothing. And so I said, well, I'll go ahead and read this. And it's a long bit, but when he gets toward the end of it, Jack said, military been in control for the last 7 years. So let me see. Towards the end of it, though, he's talking. The stuff about Chuck, the Democrat law firm run by Chuck Schumer's brother, this lawyer Mark Pomerantz that was a Hillary Clinton lawyer, went to work for the Department of Justice, and then wrote a book. What Trump mentioned was illegally, wrote the book and saying, enumerating all things that are against him. And he said it was clearly a complaint about an election. He has a right to do it. All these hoaxes and scams are made up to stop me from fighting for the American people. And in all caps, he says, but I will never stop. So I'm coming back to make sure I don't drop out of my studio. Then he goes on to say, this has been a never-ending fight from the day I came down the escalator in Trump Tower many years ago. So interesting that in this case, the information was delivered to me on a Sunday night, less than 24 hours after I suggested. Now, this is the call it the hairy point. Which I think is very germane, very germane. 24 hours after I suggested during a major speech that the federal government, in capital letters, assume control. Then it goes back to regular print of a filthy, unsanitary, neglected, and crime-ridden Washington, D.C., where murder and crime are rampant and people no longer want to go to our nation's capital. So did you catch that? Where he said he wanted the federal government to assume control of D.C. And he goes on to say, and yet that is where Biden's DOJ actually wants my trial to take place. All because they think, especially after my strong words of a federal takeover at the speech, a D.C. jury will do whatever they want. Capital letters, very unfair. And I don't think it's a question of fairness. I think it's that he's pointing out that D.C. has gone rogue, okay? And he's hinted at it before. We love our Constitution, but right now it's not being enforced, and for all intents and purposes, it doesn't exist in D.C. The Constitution doesn't. You can just look at the J6 people and see that that's the case. Wait a minute, I got a notification. Okay, let me see. Who is this? All right, I got Gary bought me coffees, about a bunch of coffees, more than I deserve. And Camperman too. Camperman came and bought me some coffees. I appreciate it on special effects. So put yourself some booms in the chats. Boom, boom, boom. I appreciate it. But he made it a point in his letter and in his speeches to say that there needs to be a federal takeover of DC. And you couple that in with Durham's losses, Sussman and whatever that character's, the little Russian guy's name was, that was just outside of DC, but close enough to be infected. And Durham's testimony was basically that part of the factors the prosecutor has to weigh is the resources and what they're doing, is it useless? Okay. Are you going to put out information, evidence, show your cards when you know it is a useless endeavor? That's basically what he was saying. And I want to point out also that there's no reports that Durham is closing his office, that his funding has stopped, or his investigation is not ongoing. I still maintain he gave an interim report. Hi, Sherry, how are you doing? An interim report. Hi, Richard. Haha, Nikki put some booms in for cameraman. Gary put a boom in. Cameraman too. So, but anyway, DC is owned by England, David said. Somebody owns it. It ain't me. I know that. Yeah, Diane, that's interesting. We got to keep an eye on the Supreme Court. We got different cards all being played in motion. But I'll tell you something else. When I was talking about Fauci last night, I mentioned that he had a 24-hour U.S. Marshals around him. I won't call it a guard. I think they're more like jailers. But it was pointed out some time ago that these Supreme Court justices can avail themselves of U.S. Marshals. If they put out a court order and they want it enforced, they can hand that over to the U.S. Marshal Service. So who knows what's going on with Fauci, but it is very unusual that he's got those marshals around him 24 hours. Yeah, DC might be a Gitmo. But so anyway, Trump put out that DC is not, he used the terms, like there's problems with the cleaning the streets and stuff like that. But I think he was also telling us it was a dangerous place for other things. And somebody else put out the notion that this Jack Smith and other prosecutors who may be feeling their oats or getting desperate to look out for members of Congress being menaced, all right, or maybe even being arrested or charged with assisting the so-called insurrection. And I saw an article just before I went live about, they called him a Trump appointee. This was an NBC News article, got convicted today. He got convicted today of 6 felonies. Where is that? Washington, a Donald Trump political appointee who attempted to storm the Capitol on January 6th was convicted of 7 felonies. That was Wednesday. It was yesterday. Thursday, convicted on Thursday, the same day that a grand jury deciding whether to indict the former president for his efforts to stop the peaceful transfer of power was hearing testimony from former White House aide William Russell. So this guy gets convicted of 7 felonies. They called him a Trump appointee, but they don't say what he did or how long he was there or anything. And at the same time, in a different area, of course, there's this grand jury meeting. They didn't say anything about Trump showing up today, so it must be tomorrow. So the article goes on to say Frederico Klein, who worked in the State Department during the Trump administration, was convicted by U.S. District Judge Trevor McFadden, also a Trump appointee, following a bench trial that unfolded last week. Klein was represented by Stanley Woodward, an attorney for several former Trump officials who was testifying elsewhere in the federal courthouse. So a bench trial means that they decided not to leave it in the hands of a D.C. jury to plead their case to a sitting judge and let the judge be the trier of fact rather than a jury, which is probably the smartest thing you could do under the circumstances because you can't trust who they put on the jury. So anyway, Klein, who was 42 at the time of his arrest, faced charges of assaulting, resisting, or impeding officers, obstruction of an official proceeding, civil disorder, as well as misdemeanor offenses. So if you remember, I'll finish the article in a second. If you remember one of Trump's last speeches he gave, he was talking about how great the January 6th people were and how everything he did was legal. But he did say some people, he said it's not the exact words, but he did say some people stepped over the line or got a little too rambunctious or something of that nature, if you'll remember. This was a couple of days ago. He said that during his speech. So Klein was originally set to go to trial alongside 2 other co-defendants, but one of the men, Christopher Quaglin, admitted his guilt. Klein went to trial alongside of Steve Cappuccio of Texas, who authorities said ripped off an officer's mask and joined an effort to try to charge past law enforcement. They tried to bull their way in past law enforcement. So that goes on to say Klein was present at a tunnel. Now in the chats, who's the lady that lost her life in the tunnel, was beaten? I couldn't remember her name, and I thought they would mention in this article, but they didn't. There were two women, Ashley and Babbitt, and then this other lady who was roughed up very badly in the tunnel. But they don't mention it. Klein was present in a tunnel leading back to the U.S. Capitol where some of the worst violence against police took place, totally omitting the woman that was beaten senseless. He did not enter the building, however. During the trial, Woodward argued that it would be, quote, in the eye of the beholder what Klein was doing in the tunnel. That was their argument, because apparently they were watching some very selective clips. So he acknowledged that Klein's presence at the front of the police line wasn't a factor in their favor, but that the government had not proven Klein's intent that day. This case rests on reasonable doubt. What they cannot prove is what was the intent here, is what his attorney said to the judge. So Woodward also encouraged McFadden to look closely at the evidence as to whether there was anything to suggest Klein actually assaulted officers. Although McFadden noted that doesn't get him out of the briar patch, because the statute assaulting, resisting, or impeding officers also makes it unlawful to interfere with officers performing their duties. And this article was written by an NBC reporter named Ryan J. Riley, and that's where they leave it off at. So there was no evidence that he actually assaulted an officer. I don't know what's going to come of it, but I find it interesting that there's a verdict given the day before. I thought it was the day Mr. T was supposed to show up, and while the grand jury about Mr. T is being heard. So let me see. See Outlandish. Yeah, those hospital bills are scary. Jack said that things are about to change drastically. Don't pay 1 penny more than you have to. So anyway, let me get down to what I was talking about. Why I put what would happen if, because I put I tried to put that post on Twitter and it wouldn't take. Yes, Gary said hit the like. Thank you. Hit the like button. It helps the video to get around. So what it was a 17 post that I found very interesting. I find them all interesting, but this particular one, I thought I would just throw it out there for someone to click on and read it. And it wouldn't take. So let me let's see. What would happen if, this is the way it starts. What would happen if texts originating from an FBI agent to several brackets internals discussed the assas, and then the rest of it is a nation, parentheses, possibility of the POTUS or a member of his family? That's the way it starts off. What would happen? Forget the Russia setup. This is only the beginning. Be careful what you wish for. And in capital letters, as the world turns, could messages such as those be publicly disclosed? So that's telling me they do have messages of people in the government, I'm not sure which branch, discussing the possibility of taking out Mr. T. Okay? What would happen if those got out? So it goes on to say, what happens to the FBI? What happens to the DOJ? What happens to the special counsel? What happens in general? Every FBI, DOJ previous case could be challenged. Lawless. Think logically. We haven't started the drops, RE, human trafficking, /sacrifices, brackets yet, brackets worst. Those good who know cannot sleep. So I wanted to just post that with no comment on Twitter and leave it up there. And if you all want to read the post for yourself, all you got to do is type in, well, I typed in the word ASSASSINITION, but you get a probably 10 or 12 posts, but it's number 586. Number 586. And it's basically confirming when Mr. T posted post number 11, what has to present itself for the military to take control of all three-letter agencies. Okay, what needs to present itself is that there's lawlessness. that they cannot function in the manner they're intended. They cannot defend, support the Constitution. Okay, and that's what needs to be shown. And that plays into what Durham was saying during his testimony. He's showing that no matter what he does, he brings a guilty party on a silver platter with proof beyond any doubt. And even members of the jury admitting the person was guilty, but they said not guilty because they did not think it was important. That is lawlessness. Much less when you have people in positions of public trust. With the FBI and DOJ, they're sacred positions, okay? An OATH. Talking about the big capital T word, the treason word, that says it specifically about harming or ending a sovereign, okay? Because there's three things: treasons, subversion, and oh my gosh, now my brain froze on me. Different levels, it'll come to me. But anyway, I said a lot of these people were involved in subversion and not the highest crime against the state. And that's the only one that's defined in the Constitution, okay? So who's 42? Why do you think he'll be a no-show, Gary? Just curious. Sedition. Thank you, Pappy. Treason, sedition, and subversion. TSS. Certifying a debacle of an election is treasonous. So we're saying if Mr. T goes to the grand jury, he would be in effect conceding or something? I don't know. I suspect it's tomorrow. Something's going to happen tomorrow. And the question is, a lot of people are saying that they're going to try to actually physically incarcerate him. Now that causes a lot of problems. That they want to cuff him and they want to detain him, and that's why I'm like, gee, man, this silence today is unnerving. And that might be the event that causes something to happen. Yeah, use a 3, David, for ease. I say the word I shouldn't, but if you put it in the chats, TR3ASON, and that way the rhythm won't catch me that way. Ha ha. And H4NG, H4NG, ha ha ha, because we use 4 for A's, but that's what's going to happen with a lot of people. And as I said before, the Nuremberg trials, the flaw with that was they didn't get enough of them. They left way too many of them running around. Gary says yes. So we'll see. Tomorrow is going to be a big day where they send him a letter. Now, that's another question too. That's not a judge commanding. That's a letter from the DOJ. I guess you could say it's a request that he appear. They can't. The judge is who orders people to appear, not a prosecutor. It's not a subpoena. Hi, 13BLT. Rick Trim said, I found Dory. We found you, Dory. So anyway, tomorrow's going to be interesting. And I don't know what you all think of that that post that I just read. But I got a lot of other ones I want to go over that I time goes by real quick for me. Even when I jump over to Bumble, I couldn't believe it. I was up there for an hour and a half one night and an hour another night. Jamie says he won't show. Well, I don't know. What's the optics? Optics are important. I mean, he just gave a speech in D.C. A couple weeks ago. He was in D.C. and he can't act like he's afraid to go. And I think the Secret Service is in discussions saying, look, this is what we'll let happen. This is what we won't let happen. And we got to understand, too, he's doing this because things aren't working out for him in Florida with Eileen Cannon. She's not letting them bulldog a trial through real quick. She's not letting them keep all the witnesses secret like they want to keep them secret. And she's talking about possibly having a trial after the election. So they're going somewhere else. They're judge shopping for somebody that will treat Trump as shoddily as Judge Mascara did with that creepy woman that sued him. So, and we also have Georgia. We also have Arizona. We got the mess in Michigan. I think they're going to try to indict him wherever they could possibly get away with it. And that's quite a lot of different places because the media is in their back pockets. Hi, Jackie Seed. Welcome aboard. So anyway, they've got their pound of flesh with this character I just talked about. And, you know, just for instance, Newsweek puts a notification, I guess, through Google on my phone about Mike Lindell. And I can only say his name once, but it says his auction flops as multiple MyPillow products fail to sell. That's the headline. Most people scroll by and it sounds like, oh, his products are a flop. Well, I already read a more detailed article on this last week. He's putting up equipment and office supplies that are no longer needed because he's selling direct. He's not shipping stuff off to box stores because Bed Bath & Beyond and all these other who filed for bankruptcy, by the way, all these other box stores are getting on the woke train. So he's changing his method of selling. So he's selling equipment he doesn't need because he's not doing it that way anymore. And he said he was auctioning stuff off, a couple $1 million worth of stuff that's not helpful to him anymore. But this article, they put it up like his products themselves are not selling. So they're nefarious, they're liars. And, you know, but the sad thing about it is not a lot of people look past their corrupt headlines. Oh, wheat rises 9% as Russia issues warning on ships headed to Ukraine. Putin stopped the grain deal of where there was supposed to be safe passage in response to, well, one was expiring, supposed to be renewed. But what do? 3 days before the grain deal is supposed to be renewed, reviewed, and then renewed if working right, they go after the Crimea Bridge again. This time they used drone boats laden with explosive, remote controlled, that went underneath the bridge. And since that's happened, Putin said, no grain deal. All the ships out from the Black Sea. They bombed the port city of Odessa. The State Department, U.S. State Department, put out a statement today. We had nothing to do with the bridge because Putin said he was going to hit decision-making centers, and the U.S. was real quick to disavow that bridge bombing. But they're trying to cause as much havoc as possible because they're losing so badly. And so anyway, the next phase of the European food crisis starts. Doubt those reversals in food price inflation will continue. Food consumption has yet to bottom out. How low can it go? So that little stunt with the bomb on the bridge is backfiring in her face big time. And at least 10 foreign cargo ships are now in the ports of Nikolaev and Odessa. And they have to leave before midnight. Otherwise, Russia might consider them involved in a military conflict on the side of Ukraine. The ships sail under the flags of African and Asian states, 3 in Liberia, 2 in Hong Kong, 2 in Palau. One more in the Caymans, Belize, and Panama. So they're running ships out of the ports there. They declared the end of this thing. Putin gave a speech about the grain deal, which was, pretty much calling it a useless thing from the start anyway. And Russia announced a naval blockade of Ukraine. The United States is not ready to announce any measures to support the movement of ships to Ukrainian ports after the statements of the Russian Defense Ministry. This was mentioned at a briefing by White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre. So they've declared a blockade of Ukraine. So anyway, it's going to be a worldwide inflation crisis coming very soon with the devaluation of the dollar, with the constant printing of money, constant sending money to Ukraine. And Europe was having energy and food problems. Now they're really going to have them. That's right. Hungary and Poland are not going to be sending anything out of. They can't. It's all blockaded now. They're not going to be sending anything through the Black Sea. And they bombed those ports where the drones were constructed and launched from. And Odessa is still under one of the few ports still under Ukrainian control, but before it's over with, that's going to be gone too. Thank you, Alan Girl. I appreciate that. Yes, Smucks, how you doing? A Transman Daredevil. Oh my word. You had a thunderstorm in the camper. Southern Ohio. Yeah, stock up on flour, stock up on everything that's non-perishable if you can. And I see what Gary said up there about getting some stuff from the Pillow Man, and I'm going to too. We got to support them. Thank you, Love to Garden. Yeah, we got to stick together. What did Benjamin Franklin said? We got to hang together, or we'll all hang separate. That's a famous thing that he said. So tomorrow is, it's kind of nerve wracking. And I tell you, if you want to go to the posts, I'd encourage you to type in, because we always say, the military is the only way. Type in just only way. Just those two words, only way. And you'll guess how many posts will come up if you just type in the two words, only way. I give you a chance to guess how many come up. I'm waiting to see if anybody. Karen said 200. No, there's 4,000. I think I'm not sure. 800, 900, almost 5,000 posts. If you type in the words "only way," how many will you get out of that 5,000 posts? Shoot, because I got two of them. Roy, Roy hit it on the head. You get 17. Ain't that something? And after the broadcast or tomorrow sometime, whenever free time, read them, from top to bottom or bottom top, however you want. But if you just put those two words in, you get 17 posts, and just read them like somebody is just trying to send you a message, not something, if you don't understand every set of initials or every dot and dash or whatever, don't worry about that. Just try to understand the basic part of the communication. Okay? And read them all. And it'll tell you. It'll make you go, I see. I see what the game is. No, it's B Dog. It's not 201. It's 17. 17 out of 5,000. Only way comes up 17 times. You did. Awaken Trams said there were 48 new Q-Tizzle postables. Oh, I haven't seen that. That'd be very interesting. Well, I've got two. I think I got two here. I can. Well, I read you the one about what would happen if. Okay. So, guess how many? If you put happen if you type in happen if out of 5,000 posts, guess how many you get? And I read the one that said what would happen if there were communications discussing the assassination of President Trump that got out, the possibility of harming or doing that to him. That's what I typed in, happen if. Nope. That's a good guess, though. Wicked Trillium, same 17. No, there's only three. There's only three. And I already read the one to you. What would happen if from text originating from an FBI agent? It said one plural, not plural, singular, from an FBI agent to several internals. All right, the other things to say happen if. Imagine what would happen if, by law, every U.S. Congresswoman, U.S. Senator, President, etc., was by U.S. law audited every 1 to 2 years by an independent agency. Now, I know you all remember Mr. T mentioning this more than once in his addresses to different groups. Imagine what would happen if those audits extended to all family members of such, quote, elected officials. Would the Democrats continue to push for foreign aid to other countries versus the homeland? What happens when the kickbacks dry up? In other words, it's been pointed out many times that a lot of foreign aid packages, there are kickbacks to the politicians, money laundering. And I already told you who's in charge of money laundering. That's the Secret Service. But anyway, Maxine Waters, $4 million house, question mark. Nancy Pelosi, net worth $150 million plus, question mark. Joe Biden's son / brother, net worth tens of millions. Clinton family, 200 million plus. Pre-election of Bill Clinton, less than 1 million. And finishes up by saying Obama's family, 40 million plus, pre-election less than 1 million. Disguised under book deals, question mark. Those who take are offered more powerful positions within the party, parentheses, controlled. Capital letters, drain the swamp. So that's the second one. Happen if. The third one says define the terms of the Iran nuclear deal. Does the agreement define and confine, cease and desist, quote, pro to the Republic of Iran? What if Iran created a classified, quote, satellite nuclear facility in northern Syria? I've already mentioned about Mr. T ordering all troops out of the Syrian conflict and the Turks and the Kurds, and they lied to him and said they did. And after he left office, they bragged that they defied his orders in Syria. And I also said there was drone footage of the Russians blinding a U.S. drone in Syria. But anyway, so this is an interesting post. What if the program never ceased? What other bad actors are possibly involved? Did the U.S. know? Where did the cash payments go? How many planes delivered? Did all planes land in the same location? Where did the uranium-1 material end up? Is this material traceable? Yes, it's traceable. So again, this is where Obama sent pallets of cash and gold, they said, to Iran, and didn't notify Congress. Is the material traceable? Yes. Define cover. What if uranium-1 material ended up in Syria? What would be the primary purpose? Capital letters, sum of all fears. In the movie, where did the material come from? What country? What would happen if? Russia or another foreign state supplied uranium to Iran, Syria. Capital letters, war. If another country did it, we would be at war with Russia. If Russia sent uranium one to Syria. But here, they're asking, did we send it? What does uranium one provide? Define cover. Why did we strike Syria? Why did we really strike Syria? Define cover, patriots in control. And under that, I believe it says biblical. So anyway, those are some interesting things. And I'm going to go over some more when I can actually put real posts up on when I do a Bumble jump, because I'm taking some words that are specifically said by Mr. T, and they're kind of oddball in their placement. And I take those words and I punch them in and see what pops up. I think that's, and I don't do it, on some crazy something or other. Something's really got to strike me as odd that he says something. Not every word he says, or every utterance, just something when it says, boy, it's odd he used those words. And I did that. And I will go over some posts with y'all the next time I do a Bumble jump. But I just say, for peace of mind and to get in the habit of reading those in a way that you don't clutter your mind or take off on something unnecessary. Only way, put that in and just read all 17. Take your time, read all 17. If you get tired reading, have a cup of coffee. Thank you all for supporting the channel. Gary tonight for sponsoring this program, and Cameraman, I do appreciate it. By the way, let me get a sip of my coffee. I've gone all this time, I hadn't had one sip. But anyway, I go on these tangents. But anyway, again, thank you. I've got a link in the description. Anybody wants to help the channel out for a buy me a coffee. But that'd be a good way to start. Gary said the money Obama sent was hush money. I'm sorry, I had to cough there. Was hush money. I read the post when I was on Bumble that Saudi Arabia, the bad branch of the family, okay, that got removed, and then Trump got a sword dance from the remaining members of the House of Saud. The baddie that got thrown out of power and ended up literally hanging by his ankles, okay, being interrogated, financed Obama, his college, way before Obama was ever a thing. But they were major donors to the Clinton Foundation. There's communications that have been intercepted that the donations to the Clinton Foundation were for influence and human trafficking, with the assumption that Hillary was going to win in 2016. She did not win. They had to pay that money back. Hundreds of millions of dollars. So the intimation from the post that I read on Bumble was that part of that money was, yes, to keep them quiet, but also to pay them back because they couldn't deliver on the promises they'd made in exchange for that money through the Clinton Foundation. There are key markers that this uranium one's one key marker. Clinton Foundation's another key marker. I'll go over the other key markers with you. Once it all gets laid out, even the most average Joe Schmo from Kokomo will go, oh, I see what was going on, and that's where we're getting to. Hi, Cosette. Israelis going cuckoo. Well, they went. Muslims went started a fire at the embassy, Swedish embassy. Because they allowed a Quran to be burned. Things are heating up, and Bibi wants to start a Talmud dictatorship. Talmudic. Al Walid. Yeah, I believe that's the name of the one that got hung up by his ankles. That's right, Jax. They never thought that you would lose. So anyway, those are the 3 posts that came up if you put in what I forgot what happen if I only got 3 posts, but I got 17 when I said only way. I didn't type in the only way, or I just put an only way. And I got 17 posts, and I've got a much more clear picture of what I believe is going to be the roadmap. Okay, folks. Well, I've gone 1 hour and 6 minutes. I appreciate everybody that's helped me out on the Buy Me a Coffee link. I don't know when I'm going to post again. I almost didn't post tonight. I was doing a lot of stuff and reading a lot of stuff, and my eyeballs were crossed up, and I was like, man, I don't know if I can go live tonight. My brain was like scrambled eggs more than usual, but I went live anyway. So if you're not subscribed, I saw on one of my last videos that 28% of the viewers were not subscribed. If you'd like to know when I go live, you subscribe and hit the notification bell, and that way you can join in the chats. And I've got one post I'm going to go over with you guys in the future on when I do a Bumble jump, and it's 3 words, and those 3 words out of 5,000 posts, guess how many posts come up when I put in 3 little words? Ha ha. I'll tell you. 1 post comes up from 3 little words. So I will actually put that post up and go over it when I do a Bumble jump, maybe Sunday night. I don't know if I go live tomorrow or not. We will see what happens to Mr. T when he goes or gets confronted by the demons from DC, from the Magic Kingdom. Okay? All right, folks. I appreciate you all spending your time with me, your precious time with me. And I will be seeing you soon. You all have a great night. This is Mountain Man, over and out.